Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, July 20th at 9:01 a.m. and I am calling to order this meeting of the North Texas Mobility Corporation's Board of Directors. Our Vice Chair, Mr. Fred Bushy, is absent today, and looking at our counselor, Mr. Gorfita, we have 3 members, so we have a quorum and can proceed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So first item on the agenda is introductions. I don't see anyone new in the room here today. So we'll move on to the public comment period. This agenda item provides an opportunity for citizens to address the board of directors on any agenda item, other matter relating to NTMC. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to address any items. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. Citizens that are not able to connect to the Zoom meeting must email his or her public comment to kmorris-perkins@dcta.net no later than 12 noon on Wednesday, July 19th, 2023, to ensure the comment will be distributed to board members prior to the meeting. The board of directors are not permitted to take action on any subject raised by the speaker during citizen comments. However, the board of directors may have the item placed on a future agenda for action, refer the item to the NTMC officers for further study or action, briefly state existing NTMC policy, or provide a brief statement of factual information in response to the inquiry. Do we have any public comments to be presented? Okay, thank you for that. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which just contains the approval of regular meeting minutes dated June 22nd, 2023. However, that is a typographical error. The date of the meeting was June 15th, 2023. And so staff is requesting we remove this agenda item from the consent agenda, and we'll bring it back next month to approve the minutes. Everything else in the minutes is factually correct as far as I could tell, but the date issue will cause it to be approved next month if no objections by the board. Okay, so first item on the regular agenda is the presentation of the general manager's monthly report. And so, Mr. Deshay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, board. Good morning, board members, colleagues.
Good morning.
So this morning, I'm going to discuss the NTMC staffing, our recruiting, our operator overtime discussion, and actually all the overtime discussion, safety highlights, including our safety performance, some of our key performance indicators, including our access by city performance review. And also we're going to have our employee spotlight for the month as well. So let's look at our staffing right now. Currently, we're planning for 95 people. We have 78 active. We have 2 people in training right now. Both of them are scheduled to graduate to active service by the end of the month. We have 4 operators who were on leave. 2 of them actually were just cleared. So the other 2 is undetermined yet whether they'll be ready for the fall bid, but 2 of the 4 are active now. And we have 11 open positions. We just hired somebody yesterday, so that's actually 10. We have about 5 interviews scheduled for next week. So hopefully we can make a dent in that for the bus operators. Right now, total of 84 people on board right now, but again, the 2 trainees should be ready by the end of the month, and 2 of the people on leave are back to service as well. So we're looking pretty good. Had a very good month in our recruiting efforts. We hired 6 people, 1 operator, 1 new ops manager, 1 custodian, 1 mechanic, and 2 road supervisors. And the good thing, we didn't lose anybody. So we beefed up our office team, our support staff. The key thing now is, can we add and fill our operator roles? Any questions on that?
And our new mechanic is active currently.
He is active. That is correct. Now we're going to look at our overtime. For the month of June, we were at 8.1%. That's everybody included. We had 3 pay periods that month. For the operators, it was a little bit under 5%. Most of that due to covering vacations. Also, we had the UNT orientation shows. We were running some additional overtime for that as well. In July, we expect to be about 7.3 right now, the first pay period. And for the operators, it's about 4%. Any questions?
How much, how able do you think you'll be to contain that overtime performance once the UNT service starts?
I'm pretty optimistic. Once we get the 2 people who are in training are starting, they'll be ready. 2 of the operators who were out on light duty, they'll be back. So I guess it's 4 additional operators. I'm pretty confident our extra board will be 5 to 6 people at least. Last year, we only had 1 when I got here, so we should be okay. Yes, ma'am.
What's your target percentage wise?
For our extra board or for the total?
For month to month, what are you trying to target?
For operators, it's 62 operators. 95 total for the staff.
But percentage of overtime?
Oh, I got you. We'd like 0. I mean, that's the goal. But we know right now, sometimes with a lot of vacations are being taken right now. But if everybody comes to work, I would think no more than 1 to 2%. There is a little bit of built-in overtime in the schedule, but it's pretty moderate. Any other questions? And we have some additional safety highlights as well. Our safety manager, Eric Hill Rivera, he's been in the process of updating all the safety data sheets for all of the departments. We should have those all completed by the end of the month. He's already finished the customer service, bus ops. He's just in the process now of updating all the safety data sheets for our maintenance and facility department. He should be done again by the end of the month. We also had a safety committee meeting last month, 4 union, 1 non-union operator, and 4 management. We met on June 26th. Items discussed included the rider code of conduct, how to ride the bus, network connectivity, risk assessment, hazard reporting, and accident reporting, including, we really wanted to define for our operators the difference between a preventable accident and an FTA reportable accident. Got a lot of questions on that. The operators also had a lot of questions about our code of conduct, network connectivity, particularly to rail, because sometimes the excuse we had earlier was, I'm running hot because I want to make sure my connections make the rail. So we wanted to make sure that we have built-in connectivity to our rail system. We also conducted 3 safety meetings, June 20th, 21st, and 24th. Topics discussed include pedestrian awareness, emergency preparedness, slip, trips, and falls, very timely, heat awareness, and hazard recognition. So the whole staff went through that training over those 3 days. And we also had our new training coordinator, Danny Gaines. He joined the team as well. He's active as well. Any questions? Okay. So let's look at one of our safety KPIs is FTA reportable events. As you can see, on most of these slides I'm doing from the fiscal year to current, because I want to give people a little bit of history, a little bit of background. And it's good for me as well, since I just joined the agency in March. But as you can see, we've had 3 FTA reportable events for the fiscal year. We had 1 in February, we had 2 in May. So for the year, the goal is to be 1 per 100,000 miles. We're at 0.42 right now. Didn't have anything in June. Now we're going to look at another KPI is our preventable events. The difference between a preventable event and an FTA reportable. FTA reportable means it's you either had a tow away, the damage was over $25,000, or you had an injury involved. A preventable could be any type of incident, and the agency is just trying to ascertain whether it was preventable or non-preventable based upon the measurements we use internally. So as you can see, the goal is to have no more than 2 per 100,000 miles. Right now, we're at 1.67, which is again under the 2.0. But you can see the downward trend. We had a peak in February of 3 preventable events, 1, 2, and then 1, and now we're down to 0. So I give a lot of credit to our safety team and our ops team for really communicating well with our operators, and also our dispatchers paying attention to what's going on in the field as well. Now we're going to look at our on-time performance. Particularly, we're going to look at Connect first, which means it's going to be our routes 3, 6, and 7. And then now we have a separate slide for our UNT. So as you can see, we're trending upward. We had a peak, well, our low point was in January, 79.02. And then as you can see now, we're at 88.86. And then actually we're actually at 89.62 right now for July. So that trend is continuing. And Route 6, I know got some questions on that. Route 6 is actually at 92% this month. So we're doing very good on that route. Then we're going to look at our UNT performance. So as you can see, our low point again was in January, 81.63. But as you can see, we've been gradually trending upwards since February, 89.30 for June, which was outstanding. And we're slightly above 90% so far for July.
And I would just want to pause here to make a personal observation for the benefit of the members of the board. So I was at the bus stop building yesterday morning on other business, and I can attest to the fact that Mr. Deshay is walking around the building, making sure buses get out, and is reporting in real time. Hey, we're at 89%. So this is something that he's focused on every day. I'm seeing it, and if you're keeping score at home, what you see is, though not at 90%, June of 2023 is the highest for the year. And somebody might say, well, yeah, well, school's not in session. Well, school also wasn't in session in December and January. You see where that was. So this tells me that we're making progress in the right areas. But the school year starting will be another big test for the processes and procedures and operating plan that's being put into place. So thank you for the work in June.
Well, one additional thing we're doing now, we have the television active in the ready room. So the on-time performance and other KPIs now, we can actually scroll that for the operators to see. So that's attracting a lot of interest. And I have to thank Aaron for getting this set up for us. Thank you, sir. But the reason why it's improving just is the key strategy is, if you notice, our early departures now are down to 1.61 in June. So that's something that you can control. Late, sometimes you can't control. Traffic, construction, things like that, but you shouldn't leave early. So our focus has been on pushing that down. Don't leave early, stay disciplined no matter what. And overall, your performance is going to improve. Now let's look at demand response by city. I know Ms. McGrath, you're very interested. So as you can see, I have Denton, Frisco, Highland Village, and then we have Louisville. So for fiscal year to date, 96.98 in Denton, 95.82 in Frisco, 95 in Highland Village, and actually only 81.08 in Louisville. So as you can see, the late percentage was very high year to date. We're talking from October to current. So that's not good. So let's look at where we are standing in June. So in June, we're at 98.41, 95.57 in Frisco, 100% in Highland Village. They don't have the same level of volume as the other cities. And we're at 88.18 in Louisville. Still not close to where we want to be. We've cut the late departures in half, but to really kind of get what's going on? Why is Louisville so much different than the other cities? So we had our managers go out 3 days with the operators to see what's going on. And also I spent a day with our scheduling department. It's a combination of both factors. And we're just going to keep drilling down. In some cases, the managers observe they just don't have enough time, particularly on the ADA PM piece of the operation. And in some cases, the operator's going to have to be more aggressive in maintaining his manifest. Because that's what the other operators are doing. Sometimes they see, hey, I'm supposed to be here at 2 o'clock. They'll get there at 1:50 and try to go ahead and start the process earlier. So we're trying to get all the Louisville operators, they have to have that same sense of urgency to meet the time commitment. But again, in some cases, the operator manager went out 3 different days. He says, hey, on some of these stops, it's just not enough time. So if he starts out late, basically he'll stay late for a good part of the day. So sometimes you'll see wide fluctuations day to day in the on-time performance.
So it starts with if I've understood you correctly, as we've talked about this over the month, it starts with how the schedule is built. And so you have to, number one, you have to build a schedule that sets the operator up for success, but then the operator has to execute the plan. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing to pay attention on the scheduling side?
Sure, like for instance, the first stop on one particular date, the operator had 15 minutes for a pickup to his next point, but he had 5 people at the one stop. 2 of them needed assistance. So he spent 12 minutes at that one stop. So there was no way he was going to go from using 12 minutes at that stop and make the next stop in 3 minutes. So basically for the next 4 stops, he was late. Manager observed it, who was on the bus with him. So now we're getting with our scheduling group and saying, how is this 15 minutes being allotted when you see that you have 5 people being picked up at one stop? Is it an automated process, or is it something you're doing manually? So the staff currently probably needs more training on doing the optimizer, which is basically you put everything in the system and it'll build the schedule for you. Right now it's being done pretty much manually. And if you don't account for every factor at every stop, you could not, sometimes you're going to have situations where the operator didn't have enough time.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
But again, we're not happy with anything under, to me, I think if we do this right, I would think every city should be at least 95 to 98%. That's the kind of standard that we want to achieve here. Now let's look at our customer feedback. Complaints per 100,000 riders. So as you can see, we had a peak in March, 14 complaints, 13 of those were conduct related. Our next most common complaint type is on-time performance, and then also a handful of complaints related to the station, shelter, or bus stop. Typically, you might have a request for a bus stop, or you might have a complaint about the cleanliness of a bus stop. They want things cleaned up. But as you can see, in June, we only had 2 complaints. One of them was conduct related. The goal is to be under 7.5 complaints per 100,000 riders. So we're under that plan. The key thing is, if you run on time, a lot of times the negative interactions you have with the public go away if you run efficient service. But we've also addressed the people who have been habitual conduct complaints. So the person who had the most complaints for the driver conduct is no longer with the agency. So we hopefully, we want 0. I mean, again, there's no excuse to be discourteous to the public. So we had a peak of 14, down to 2. We expect that trend to continue. Does anybody have any questions? Should I do the spotlight or? And for our employee spotlight for June, operator Travis Johnson. Mr. Johnson's been with the agency for 17 years now, primarily paratransit. He's an access operator, but he really embodies the core values of DCTA. Very selfless guy, committed to excellence, a team player. So in June, he surpassed all other operators by working the highest number of hours, outstanding 92% on-time performance. And he is in Louisville, by the way. He also has spotless records, 0 accidents, no unexcused absences, no complaints. And again, when we did the shuttle, the Jubilee in July, he was the first person to volunteer to do that. So do his regular run, come back and assist for the Jubilee as well. So I thought his overall record, the way he conducts himself, and his other employees respect him as well. I thought he was a worthy selection for our employee for the spotlight in June. Operator Travis Johnson.
Thank you for that report and thank you for the highlight. And we appreciate Mr. Johnson and his service to the agency. 17 years in any one spot is very commendable. So we're thankful for him.
Thank you. Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Before you leave, I just wanted to make, I like the new charts.
you like them better?
I do.
I got it. Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
They look good.
Appreciate that feedback. We're continuing to, and I say we really, Mr. Deshay and Mr. Bell are continuing to refine this set of reports that will make it so that it's easy to understand and it just becomes part of the DNA about how we do our business around here. And so he mentioned the scrolling screen in the bus driver lounge. You see the screen out here. We're going to be making progress in the very near future for building a database that allows these things to be updated automatically and ultimately daily ridership reporting, daily on-time performance reporting in everybody's faces everywhere they go is what we're after. So these are the big important steps to take to get us there. So thank you for that feedback. Yes.
Good morning, I'm Jane Floritz. I'm the Senior Manager of Budget, and we are going to go over just a few of the slides from the budget for updates that we had from the June meeting. All right, so we have a couple of slides that say asked and answered. So one of the questions that we received is, did you consider a living wage increase for NTMC? And so between the June meeting and the July meeting, we built in a $30,000 amount into the salaries and wages for the living wage. We calculated it from one of the numbers we got in the June meeting, which was 1887. But we realized that from after that meeting of checking, 1824 was our number. So we will look at that before we present to the DCTA board, but at least we know that we have enough there. And that represents about 10 employees that we found that need to be brought up to the living wage adjustment. And the next question was, did you consider funding for incentives for hiring and retention in this budget? And so currently right now there is funding for advertising and hiring incentives like recruitments and sign-on bonuses. But we've been meeting as a group over the last month or so to kind of talk about different performance incentives that we could consider prior to the next labor contract. So meetings are going on right now, have gone on and are going on right now. And there should be some more information coming in a future board meeting on that.
And just to note here that the whatever adjustments come from the labor contract are not reflected in this budget because we don't know what those are going to be. And so we expect a budget amendment after the in the March timeframe, once that collective bargaining agreement is ratified and moving into place, that when the action comes for this board to take, it'll come with a budget amendment to reflect that new compensation structure. Thank you.
All right, and then this here is, you saw it last month, but the only thing that's different between last month and this month is there's a column there that says proposed FY24 and then a proposed revised FY24. So you can see the differences between the June meeting and the July meeting. The only really difference between those two is in salary, wages, and benefits. And that increase is due to the cost of living adjustment that we actually did not have in the June meeting that we thought we did, and the living wage increase. So those are the only changes from the June meeting to the July meeting. Are there any questions on that slide? Okay. And then this is just a side-by-side comparison of FY23's adopted budget to FY24 proposed budget. There is a net change with a decrease of $336,438. That's primarily due to the contract with HCG that we had last year that we do not have this year. Questions on that one?
So this is listed as an action item for this board to and Mr. Burpita, please help us out here. This body recommends approval of this budget to DCTA. So the motion could be
Make a recommendation approval of the budget.
Okay. Okay.
Be as simple as that,
Okay. So
as presented.
yeah, is there a motion to recommend approval of the NTMC budget as presented?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the budget as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you.
And then you may want to jump back to item 2, the monthly financial statements for where we are this year.
I didn't bring everything, that's all I need that.
Okay,
So I have it.
okay. We'll just take a second.
Right here. All right, so for monthly financial statements for this year. Year-to-date actuals for salary and wages is $3,500,032, with the annual budget is $6,240,378. With an actual difference of 56.1%. And then the note there is actual expenditures continue to trend behind the adjusted budgeted amount. And then the other one to note here is outsourced services and charges. A year-to-date actuals is 171,976 against a budget of 607,445. And a significant portion of the FY 20 budget considered the hire of a temporary staffing, which has not been used yet. Are there any questions or anything else I need to highlight on that?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So that's the end of our regular agenda. The next item on the agenda says future agenda items and board member requests. Are there any future agenda items or board member requests to cover? One thing that I'll note is that the general manager evaluation policy that this body approved upon Mr. Deshaies' hire says that here in the next couple of weeks, he is to present a self-evaluation to the board chair, which I will send to you all in advance of the next board meeting. So one of the items on next board meeting's agenda will be an executive session item to review the performance of our general manager. And then in September, and then we will, from that will come written feedback against the goals and objectives that the board approved. And then in the September board meeting, we will again go into executive session, this time with Mr. Deshaies, to provide that performance feedback against goals and objectives. So recognize that he's got a short tenure with us, having just started in March. However, he's done a lot. There's a lot for him to talk about, but this sets the rhythm of how this body interacts with the general manager that we've hired. And so it's important for us to exercise that process. So just be aware that will be on the agenda for next month. Okay. All right. So with that, no executive session in this board meeting. So we can, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Board meeting's adjourned. Thank you. The time is 9:30 a.m.